a 2.5-minute cage match, a 1-minute tables match, a women's three-way that lasts 10 seconds, and so many run-ins you won't even know what to do with yourself. God damn it, why did I agree to do this? I'm John Ritlin with the retro review of WCW Nitro from August 28, 2000. I know why I agreed to do this, because people loved when I reviewed and ranted on the reboot episode and were like, hey, you should review all this stuff until the end of the company. And I'm like, okay, I like a challenge. And I'm going to keep doing this, despite my, ever-dwindling sanity when it comes to WCW 2000. And there were some bright spots. Lance Storm, Booker T, and a few, others. But a lot of the storylines are absolute dog shit, and this was proof that Vince Russo should have never been allowed in wrestling in any capacity. So, I will be, posting these occasionally. If there are gaps in any weeks, I do apologize, but I am going to keep reviewing these because you guys demand the content. And plus, it is nice to rant about some older shit. So, the band is back together. Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash, Jeff Jarrett, and Vince Russo, unfortunately, is an on-screen character. Yep, the band is back together, apparently. They arrive in a limo. And then Shivani and Mark Madden, so just Shivani on commentary, while Scott Hudson and his wife are expecting a kid. And I know this was 20 years ago, but I hope the young man or young woman grew up to be just fine and healthy. I like Scott Hudson. I thought he was a pretty good announcer. So, we get 3 count versus the Dark Carnival members, Vampiro and ICP. Great Muta yells on commentary. We get ICP chants, whatever. They've done some good shit with their money and their fame. They don't do music. I don't think ICP has ever made anything good. But credit to them for using their fame the right way. And then a missed leg drop by, was it Violent J? I don't actually know. I think it was Violent J. I don't actually really care. But he just, he tried to clear the distance and he barely did. And probably like fucking hurt Shannon Moore right there. But we got a victory right there. Then Tank Abbott comes down and attacks 3 count because they laid him out with baseball bats recently. And then the Demon's here to help Tank Abbott. And then the Mist from Muta, knocks down the Demon. And then here's Sting with a bat and he just takes out everybody. Isn't the last time we get a whole bunch of run-ins. Natural Born Thrillers, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner. That would have been interesting to see Scott Hall in chainmail. Jeff Jarrett and Russo. This is a family. A very dysfunctional family. And then it's a group to take down Goldberg. And then Russo yells a lot, because of course he fucking does. And then Jeff Jarrett challenges Mike Austin to a bunkhouse brawl at Fall Brawl. We are going to get so many brawls at the Fall Brawl. And then Scott Steiner yells about Goldberg and what he did to his girlfriend last week. A lot of these shows feel like, even though I review them usually weekly, a lot of these shows feel like, there's like 5 weeks worth of television that was not shown because there's just no coherency to these storylines at all. It's just fucking ridiculous. And then Nash says he doesn't care about the fans, especially once they buy his merch. Now you're getting the real him. Russo then says Nash will face Booker tonight, not at Fall Brawl. And Jeff Jarrett will be the inside official, Scott Steiner will be the outside official, and Vince Russo will join commentary just to make sure it's a fair and even playing field. Sure, they didn't overbook this too much, did they? Shivani then accidentally calls them the Natural Black Thrillers, or something. I mean, whatever. I honest to God think that Shivani probably had about 10,000 voices in his ear, and probably just fucking gave up. And then Booker wants to discuss the match. Then here's Ernest Miller, who ends up getting a low blow, because he says he will help Booker, but Russo low blows him, and then he's taken away in an ambulance. The Filthy Animals try to run in and fail, because the Natural Born Thrillers stop them. And then Goldberg is on the Nitrovision, digging a hole. Says he will destroy everyone and put Russo in this hole. Okay, whatever. He's gonna literally kill a man and put him in an open grave. Alright. That's murder, Bill. That's fucking murder. So then Russo's panicking because his guys are leaving him to go get ready for their matches. And Goldberg calls on a giant speakerphone that apparently can be heard throughout the entire arena. I'm on my way. And then Russo gets upset. We then get Paisley versus Tigress versus Major Guns, and it took me longer to introduce all the people there than it did for the match. A kick from Paisley, a punch from Tigress, and a jackknife cover pins Major Guns. That's what they were doing with the women. Now, none of these women should have ever been in the ring, but even with training, they could have at least been passable, and it's just fucking crazy. This is where women's wrestling was, especially in WCW in 2000, in the shitter. Nothing against the women. I mean, honestly, they did everything they could. Fucking Christ. We get a brief ball afterwards. Then we get the Animals pepper spraying the Natural Born Thrillers. We are just going along this Russo-rific ride. And then Mike Awesome is now that 70s guy. He's no longer the fat chick thriller. He is that 70s guy. I know he wasn't being paid that well in ECW, but at least he was treated with respect there. And then Rick Steiner gets challenged to a bunkhouse match from Mike Awesome. And then we get Chronic versus the Nazi Harris brothers. They have Nazi tattoos, and they deserve every bit of ridicule they get. I don't care if they're 6'7", 6'8". They're fucking abhorrent for having those kind of tattoos. And fuck anybody that says you aren't an evil person if you have tattoos like that. You're fucking morons. So, eventually, it's a house paint match, by the way. You got to handcuff your guys to the wall, to the window, to the wall, and then beat them up for a bit, and then you win the match. Okay, they broke the cage wall within about a minute and a half. One of the Harris brothers, whichever one of them, I don't really care. They both have Nazi tattoos, beats up a fan at ringside. Or, on the guardrail, but still right in the front row. And then the bell's called, and it's 2.5 minutes in. The bell's called, and that's it. The match is thrown out. Match is just thrown out. Whatever. They keep brawling. No one cares. Life goes on as usual. And then we get Lance Storm and Elix Skipper. And it's Lance versus Sergeant AWOL. Because he was the wall before. Get it? It's with MIA. It's a prisoner of war tables match. POW tables match. They're actual prisoners of war. They probably wouldn't have liked this very much. I know that wrestling cuts to the bone sometimes, but for this is what you're going to use, that kind of stuff. Whatever. Literally minute in, Skipper hits AWOL with the flag and a drop kick from Lance Storm. Sends him through the table. So Lance Storm wins. By the way, this prisoner of war match, you get to take a member of the stable with you that you beat. So Lance Storm takes Major Guns. Okay. I guess maybe she needs some Canadian health care. I have no goddamn idea. We'll find out on Thunder. Or we won't find out at all. Because storylines often got dropped in WCW. Oh boy. Rick Steiner versus that 70s guy, Mike Awesome. Bunkhouse match. Table gets in there eventually. I think about 2 minutes in. Jarrett lays his pipe right on Mike Awesome. Right into Mike Awesome. He pipes him repeatedly. And then get a lot of piping going on here. And then Rick Steiner sends him through the table and beats him. Maybe 3-minute match, maybe. Then we get Nash versus Booker for the WCW title. Jarrett is the ref. Scott Steiner's the outside ref, and Jarrett's playing fair. He's shoving Russo. He's getting upset and everything. And oh no, it was all a ruse. By the way, earlier in this show, Jeff Jarrett brought a truck to the arena, a beat up pickup truck with a bunch of guitars in them. Not tied down. I don't know how the hell all those guitars got there without being broken, unless they just happened to get them, dump them in that truck, just happened to be on the lot and do that. But whatever. He gets a guitar from Russo and hits Booker over the head. It was all a ruse. And then Jackknife and Booker gets pinned. So Booker's big, spectacular world title run of just under 2 months ends with overbooked nonsense. He would then become champion another 4 times by the end of Nitro's existence, which was basically 7 months after this. So he would become champion 4 more times by the time Nitro ended. That's good booking right there, except it's not. So they celebrate, and then Goldberg gets Booker to stay. Says, Booker, where are you leaving? We got a thing going on. Come on, let's go do this. He just gets Booker to leave. Hugh Morris couldn't do it. To be fair, I wouldn't listen to Hugh Morris either. And then Shane and Tori are in the bleachers just talking, and Shane Douglas says, hey, Kidman, how about you face me in a Pittsburgh plunge scaffold match, fall brawl? And then here's Crowbar to attack Shane Douglas. And then he looks down, and apparently the camera doesn't catch him, but there's Daphne and her boyfriend. And then Shane Douglas press slams Crowbar off the bleachers through a table. Pretty far drop, actually. Crowbar was insane. Devon Storm, he was insane regardless, but yeah. And then Daphne gets pie face. This show is bad. This show is really fucking bad. Douglas then calls out anyone. Here's Goldberg and Spear, and Goldberg headbutted the door too hard, so his eyebrow was already cut, and then jackhammers him and says, be wrong place, wrong time. Then Nash, Nash has a shower, seriously, and they tried to imply it he's naked, but actually he was wearing flesh-toned tights that they didn't even bother to cover up. And then Booker attacks him in the shower. Vito versus Jeff Jarrett. Well, Vito tried, but then we get a stroke for 3. I don't even care about analyzing these matches. Austin pops out of the truck full of guitars, and then slams Jarrett into them. But he doesn't quite clear his head on that, the tailgate. It looked like Jarrett might have knocked himself loopy. Might have knocked himself into realizing, oh shit, I'm not actually a main eventer. Natural Born Thrillers go out to Filthy Animals. It's the Filthy Animals, including Tigress, in a 5-on-5 elimination match, which suddenly goes down to 1-on-1 when everybody else but Tigress and above-average Mike Sanders gets counted out. That's what they're doing. This isn't the last elimination match with the Natural Born Thrillers, because Paul Orndorff will actually join the Filthy Animals at Fall Brawl. Yay! I hate this show. I hate it so much. Let's wrap up this bullshit. Oh yeah, Sanders ended up pinning Tigress with his finish, the back neck cracker or whatever, for what Tigress was worth, aka nothing. And then Goldberg runs into Steiner's dressing room and destroys him with a pipe around a urinal. And then Vito does the Italian kiss of death to Vince Russo, saying he'll help him. And then Russo and Vito are in the ring. Russo won't run anymore. Here's Goldberg. Goldberg can't touch him or he'll be fired. And then Vito lays him out. And then Goldberg says, take out the garbage. And then here's Sting versus Great Muta. This was maybe 2 minutes. Maybe 3. Vampiro and ICP are on top of the little, panel there for the Nitrovision. And they'd cut through it so Vampiro could be there. They brawl a bit. Vampiro almost showers his ankles jumping off of the goddamn thing. And then they climb back up there. ICP's there. They take Sting out, seemingly, or through that, little hole in the Nitrovision. It's a Nitro Volva, if you will. And then we cut to Russo being dragged behind Goldberg's SUV, which I think was a little, actually, Ford Explorer. And then here's Bret Hart suddenly. And he's gonna help bury Russo. Except he gets a shovel and then hits Goldberg. You like to end careers, Bill? Well, so do I. I know they were trying to find shit for Bret to do, and Bret is my favorite wrestler of all time, but this is what I fucking think of this goddamn show. That's it. I'm done. Until they do the Thunder review. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.